We are live,
All right.
and I do have everything else muted except for you
Okay.
because I'm good like that.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and we invite you to recline back your chairs, ease all of your cares as we present to you our Monday night Raw review, Survivor Series, Go Home Edition. And I gotta say, from my vantage point, not a bad show. I don't think I liked it as much as last week, to be honest, in my opinion. There was one nitpick that when we get to our first segment, I do want to address. I do think that the main selling point of this Go Home show was the championship matches. And I would say on that criterion, this Raw delivered because I thoroughly enjoyed both championship matches. And the stuff they padded it out with, some was a hit, some was downright groan-worthy to me, and others, I guess you could just say, was interesting, as I think Ashton's promotional tweet characterized this Raw as. So, partner, if you could elaborate on that, how did you feel about this Raw tonight? Where do we agree? Where do we disagree?
Well, here's the thing. The reason that I specifically said that it was interesting, I mean, obviously, first of all, clickbait, got to draw people in, make them think, oh, what do they think of it? How interesting good or interesting bad? But truthfully, I just thought this was a really weird episode of Raw. This felt like very almost paradoxical in the sense that there was just like two or three things on the show, and we will talk about them, that I absolutely hated. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of other stuff happened that was really good and that almost kind of made up for stuff that I hated in previous weeks. And it almost felt like they were kind of using this Raw to correct some mistakes. But then at the same time, I also noticed that there were like a higher than usual amount of verbal botches tonight. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but I feel like there were at least 3 or 4 verbal botches through promos tonight, whether it was because they tripped over their words or because they repeated a line or because they said something and then they realized like and then they paused and then they realized they were on the right track and then they like repeated themselves. Like, it was really like Drew did it, Shelton Benjamin did it. I know it happened at least one other time. I think Nikki Cross might have done it. Like, it was a really night as far as like the verbal mistakes. And I don't blame that on the talent. I'm guessing that probably has to do with the fact that they probably only found out what they were supposed to be saying like an hour before they were supposed to say it, maybe less than that. But it was just weird, man. It was just a really strange episode of Raw to me. There was definitely some good. There was definitely some bad. I guess in that sense, it was typical. I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. But it was fucking odd, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did pick up on some of the verbal slip-ups that you're speaking of. Not to the extent that you did, but I definitely noted it with Shelton in particular because that flashed across my mind. But with that said, do you have any other preliminary remarks you want to make before we formally get into this?
I don't think so, no.
All right, then let us get into our first segment, guys. Heat of the night, and no pithy remarks this time because I actually do have a nitpick. And I do stress nitpick because I think it'd be unfair to call it a heat of the night when it's obviously a big part of it. We got way too much Nia Jax on this show for my liking tonight.
Yeah.
The Raw Women's Survivor Series team really got emphasized on this episode, and it did have an interesting payoff. We know, I mean, not to jump the gun, but I mean, I know we kind of do that sometimes in this first segment anyway. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are no longer part of the team, and Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce are. I would say overall that is definitely a net gain for the Raw Women's team.
Yeah. When I saw, like, after they announced that and they showed the image of those 5 women and then the 3 women that we have already established for SmackDown, my excitement for Survivor Series went up quite a bit. Because I literally, like, I looked at the Raw team and I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty fucking stacked team. Like, Lacey is whatever. And, she's athletic. She can do some stuff. She's not terrible in the ring. But Peyton Royce is good in the ring. Obviously Naya's trash, but she's gonna barely do anything because that's just her style. She barely does anything, and then she takes credit. Shayna's fucking great. Lana is really the biggest weak point on the team. If you're just kind of combining kayfabe power level with actual ability, she's clearly the weakest on the team. But like, yeah, they went from having a really piss poor team that I was like, you don't even need anyone else on the SmackDown side. These three women alone could squash everyone on this team except for Shayna and Nia, kayfabe wise. To now it's like, damn, like I'm really interested to see who SmackDown backs themselves up with because they need help now because this looks really legit now. Like even like Lacey Evans, I already mentioned, like she's not bad. I don't think she's bad at all. I think she's actually pretty good in the ring, more so than some people might think other women are that I don't. But that being said, kayfabe wise, she's like a B level player. She's up there. She's not like this like, Dana Brooke was like a D level player. Mandy Rose is like D plus C minus, maybe C at the best. But Lacey, she's challenged for women's championships multiple times. She's had big feuds with some of the top players. Like, she's not the biggest of deals, but she's kind of a big deal. And then Peyton Royce, like we said, she realistically, like kayfabe power level wise, she's below Lacey. But also, like talent wise, she's above everyone in this match except for, on this team, not in this match. Everyone on this team except for Shayna. And even with Shayna, it's like, I don't know, they might be closer than we realize.
I think you said everything perfectly there, so I'm not going to touch on that. What I will touch on that I don't really think you mentioned, so it gives me an avenue to work with. I also think this is intelligent. If we keep it relative to WWE's designs and not the designs that we personally wish they had, this is also an intelligent move by WWE in case they want to go back to the versus Shayna and Nia kind of feud for the titles, because Shayna took out Mandy Rose and Dana, was getting ready to blame her for it, but then she got attacked by Reckoning, so, Retribution got into this. But, just the idea, Mandy gets healthy kayfabe-wise, and it's like, oh, well, we're not done yet because we got screwed out of the titles by Lana, but Survivor Series is over, and now not only is it about the titles, it's personal. So I also think you keep the avenue open to, revisit that feud within an appropriate narrative context. So yeah. I think this shift actually accomplished a lot. And again, I think you already noted so much of it, so I don't want to belabor the point. So with that
said, I
also
do want to kind of hammer down the point. Like I said a few times already, this is a really weird show. Why the hell did Reckoning go after Dana Brooke? Like, first of all, she didn't benefit from it. It's not like her taking Dana Brooke out of the Survivor Series team allowed her to get that spot. Reckoning isn't in it. She got replaced by Lacey Evans or, Peyton Royce, one of the two of them. And Reckoning just like randomly attacked Dana Brooke with no real motive. Like, did Dana Brooke cross Reckoning at some point that made her angry, that made her want to beat her up? Or was that literally just like, we need somebody to take her out. Reckoning isn't doing anything on the show. Let's just have her do it.
I think Retribution's whole kind of mantra, rather reductively, but then again, I'm thinking through WWE, right, is just that they're, agents of chaos. They may have a central goal for that chaos to bring down the system. And, Dana Brooke might have just been a casualty to remind you, we can strike at any time. So, I mean, I agree with you that it is a bit confounding, but I think at the same time, this has been television that for years has been telling us systematically, don't look too deep into it and just take it for what it is. You know what, dude?
I'm going to look too deep into it. Here's a weird little theory craft for you. Ready for this?
Okay, let's do it, I guess.
Lana joins Retribution, teams up with Reckoning, and they become the tag champs, maybe even at TLC.
I'm not opposed to it.
Because, again, like the whole thing with Retribution is like people who have been overlooked, people who have been bullied, et cetera, et cetera. Lana, I feel like if we found, like if that happened, like if Lana joined Retribution, our immediate thought to that would be, holy shit, this makes so much sense. It feels like they've been building to this for months.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say to you that I have a dual reaction to that, because narratively it makes perfect sense. Like, I have no contention and no umbrage with the argument. Just on a personal level, I would low-key hate it, because when you actually look at Retribution, they're really stacked in ring-wise. Like, they've got freaks in their faction that are really good in ring workers, and Lana just is a big hit to the stock in that way. But again, I want to emphasize, I think you make completely salient points, narratively speaking. it does track. So
Yeah.
I will keep an open mind.
Yeah, I think I should emphasize that I'm not saying that I want this to happen.
Of course.
Looking at the pieces that have been given to us, the way that Lana has been mercilessly bullied, the way that she has toughed her way through said bullying when Dana and Mandy couldn't take a single assault, and Lana's been assaulted probably close to 10 times by now, and she is toughed through all of it. The way that she continues to be bullied and harassed by Nia and Shayna with nobody, and we mentioned this last week, nobody coming to her aid. Nobody's helping her. Nobody's even trying to help her. It feels like they're like giving us the puzzle pieces to put together that, yeah, she's going to join Retribution. And especially because, like, Reckoning could have gone after her. But maybe Reckoning saw that she was already getting bullied and was almost like, you know what? She's one of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just one little bit of pushback to your construct.
Sure, I'm happy to listen to pushback, yeah.
Because again, it narratively tracks. It's not that. I'm just thinking, too, in WWE's mind that, like, it really depends what WWE wants to do with Lana, right? Because if they do, in Vince's mind, want to make her, like, this top babyface of the division, which we've already talked about how laughable that is, so I'm not going to belabor those points, they may want to present that offer. Because, again, I really like how that tracks narratively. And really, if we're honest, wrestling is 90% narrative anyway.
Right.
The 10% that's in ring is just to bring the narrative together in the ring.
Exactly.
Like a performance piece, if you will. So they could have a moment where they give her that offer and they recount exactly everything you're saying. You've been getting put to this announce table for weeks. Nobody's helped you. Everybody's counted you out. You could have a home in Retribution because we're just like you, Lana. And then she turns it down, you know? And you know, like, it really depends what WWE wants to do with her, because you want to talk about theory crafting. I'm even thinking about a situation where maybe Reckoning does beat Asuka for the title, which would be an interesting development. But then maybe ultimately Lana beat Reckoning. And I know that sounds crazy, but again, that's why we call it like crafting in the space, right?
Right.
I don't know how big they want to make Lana, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know?
I will say though, man, like, because last week you and I had the big discussion about how, like, you think that they're building up Lana to be the sole survivor on the Raw team, and I thought that they were just building her to be even more of a butt of a joke. I think tonight was kind of the first time that I realized that I might have been in the wrong here, and you might actually have this right, because I'm realizing, like, Dana Brooke got taken out by a simple assault backstage. Mandy Rose has been taken out by a weird, like, throw out of the ring, and then another simple assault in the ring tonight. Lana has been getting assaulted like this for, I mean, Shayna literally said it tonight, for months, for like 2 months. And she keeps getting back up. She keeps trying again. She keeps persevering. It's a very babyface thing for her. And it's a very Vince thing to want her to look tough right before getting pushed.
Another thing, too, just going back and kind of getting really meta here, and to be fair, we did warn our audience this was coming with our crafting. Like, because Vince is like a hyper-conservative, what does that usually entail? This kind of romanticized hyper-individualism, right? So Lana's a babyface because she stands on her own through it all, whereas Retribution is a heel faction because they were dependent on each other. They couldn't stand on their own 2 feet and weather the storm. They all had to find solace and protection in each other. And I think Vince looks at that as weakness, which he portrays as cowardly and violent and this and that. Yeah. So I could see Lana, I could see her joining. I want to really emphasize that point so that nobody loses the threads that we're constructing. I think everything you laid out was cogent and coherent.
I'll tell you what, dude, if you're okay with me putting a pause on what you have to say just to say something real quick.
Of course.
I think one of 2 things happens with Lana at Survivor Series. She's either going to get eliminated first, then put through a table, and that's the path that leads to her joining Retribution, or she's going to get put through a table at the beginning of the match before she gets eliminated and end up being the last person alive for her team. Now, again, that could also go one of 2 ways. She could either win it for her team. I highly doubt that happens. Or she could just get, like, the fucking house show, everyone on the opposing team hits their finisher and then pins her and that's it kind of treatment. But I feel like the more likely scenario to lead to her joining Retribution is, like, just complete and utter humiliation. She gets eliminated immediately. Like, maybe we get like a flash of everyone else, and then she's the last person to tag in after maybe 2 minutes into the match. Nobody is really gone for a pinfall yet even. She gets hit with a single move. Maybe it's Liv's, like, recoil type move that she does, like her like double knee facebuster thing, immediately pins Lana. Lana's eliminated. Nia and Shayna set her up again. Nia puts her through the table again, and then literally the next night on Raw, I would expect to see her in a fucking mask.
Okay, I'm not going to respond to that only because I know we have our Survivor Series preview coming up this week. I want to tell on myself, and I definitely want to see how Friday plays out.
Yeah, that's why I kind of left it up to chance, because I don't know necessarily which direction I'm going with that, and I don't know which team of those two teams I'm picking. So I wanted to leave it more up to chance, but yeah, I could see it going either way. But I do think that her being humiliated is the more likely scenario to lead her to joining Retribution.
I do like that. Just to press resume now on the point I was making earlier.
Yes, please, thank you,
quickly.
and I'm sorry.
No, of course, dude, it's dialogue. This is what happens. If they want to take her as the big babyface, which again, dude, I fear, because it's right there, right? And we've seen this so many times before. I could see them having her turn it down. Reckoning beats her down. It's a shame that Mercedes is no longer there, because then I can say like the group would beat her down.
Yeah, 2-on-1 would be a lot more effective at that.
Like, dude, I'm just gonna say
it would have been so much more believable if it was 2-on-1 tonight beating down Dana Brooke. That would have been more believable as a way to get her out of the match than just one person.
Oh, completely agree. But I'm just gonna tell you and everybody the most absurd thing that I'm thinking, just to like purge this from my system.
Right.
Lana is such a wild card to me because of the aesthetic, because of her background. Like, she's getting a Chronicle soon, dude. I don't know if you knew that.
Jesus.
And I know, like, they really. You think about the people that have gotten WWE Chronicles, they're big deals. I'm just going to say it, because in this podcast we can say practically anything. I wouldn't even be surprised if she won the fucking title at Mania, dude, and they gave her like or at least the Women's Battle Royal. At least I could see that a Mania moment.
I feel like that's more likely. I don't think that. You know what though, dude? Again, I think you kind of said it as well as anyone can say it earlier. We don't know how much they want to push her.
Exactly. Yeah. So, with that said, I think that's the perfect pin to put in the discussion so we don't get redundant.
Yeah.
Do you have any heats of the night or nitpicks that you want to address? Because remember, mine was just way too much Nia Jax exposure on the show. And I think that kind of led to all this.
I definitely approve of that. But you know what? We've already talked about last week how I hate the build to Survivor Series this year. And because we did already mention that, I don't want to keep harping on it. We'll just kind of gloss over it when we get around to it. And that would really be my only real complaint on this show, I think. I mean, fuck, dude. If we're complaining about segments just being awful, everything involving Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss right now is fucking garbage. It's terrible. It's the worst thing going on WWE television right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I will say I enjoyed Bray versus Miz tonight, mainly for Bray's character work in the ring, but Alexa really is dragging this down for me, and I made a point in that as well in my notes.
Yeah.
It went from like, and I'm just going to say the same thing that I said when we saw the very first Firefly Funhouse. It went from Adult Swim infomercial to fucking Goosebumps real quick. And, I don't mean to take the piss on Goosebumps. I'm sure we may have people that are fans of that show or were fans when they were kids. But I'm saying that it went from that creepy, unnerving thing that you mistake for a commercial at 3 a.m. that leaves you like, well, I'm not sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
To, the kids may be scared by this, but like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, that's what Alexa Bliss has done for that. It's gone again from Adult Swim infomercial to Goosebumps for me. That's my tagline for this.
God,
and I hate it.
Bliss is such a weird case just individually too, because she seems like such a sweet person IRL. But also, she's like a full-blown fucking bootlicker. So, like...
Yes.
It's like part of me wants to like her, but part of me is like, no, fuck her. And, like, at the same time, like, as a performer, she's really good at talking sometimes. She's really good at emoting sometimes. In this current character, everything she's doing is so try-hard, I can't handle it. It's like...
I can't either, dude.
I have a hard time even watching her segments right now. It's that bad to me.
Dude, I mean, Dude, you know what a huge fan of The Fiend and Bray Wyatt I am. So, like, you can imagine how hard it is for me to see what he so meticulously created be, like, reduced to this. And I will say it like that. Again, I don't want us to be too negative. I feel like in the last few weeks we've had a really good energy, but I can't help it. I think she is really killing the spirit of this.
Yep.
And I think, this whole angle is revealing to us her limits. Yeah, absolutely. It's rough. I will say also, tagging on another nitpick, I still don't like what they're doing with Garza. I think you guys can go back to last week's or watch WoW, and I pretty much covered it up well there. I think it's very delimiting to his personality. It seems very one note, and to be honest, I think it might be low key stereotypical in a way. So I don't like what they're doing there. Yeah, that's the thing with Raw. The characters that are good are really good, and the ones that are bad, oof, does it show. So before we get into the review, is there anything else you want to say?
Just want to kind of almost behind the scenes here. When you say the characters that are good are really good, the first thing that came to my mind was actually MVP in the Hurt Business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. All right. Yeah, I think we can move on.
Yeah, business is good, brother.
Yeah.
So let's get into our Monday Night Raw review, as we've got McIntyre cutting a promo to start the show. They recap his confrontation with Roman Reigns in the match he had with Jey Uso, and McIntyre calls Survivor Series an American Thanksgiving tradition. And McIntyre's like, I've been living in America for a third of my life, and he loves Thanksgiving, from the food and being with family, and like he wants to say what he's thankful for. He's thankful for us. He considers us family, and it's a really sentimental promo. And it really says a lot about Drew's charisma to me. Now, I'm always curious to get your reactions, especially now that we've got a system where, so that I won't get spoiled on shit, you have your mic muted, so I can't hear you say, like, for example, oh my God, or like whatever when something's on that's annoying you. But to me, Drew's charisma is really something when he can be really sentimental. I mean, downright schmaltzy at times, I think, with some of his rhetoric towards the fans. And yet it never loses to me that likability because of how naturally charismatic he is.
Yeah.
Like, he really is a genuinely good babyface promo. It's funny because he really is a rare case where he looks like he does, and yet he operates so much better as a babyface than as a heel to me. What did you think about this promo, man?
It was, I pretty much, beat for beat agree with what you said. I think what it is to me with Drew that makes him special, just kind of rewording the way that you phrased it, he comes off as, God, listen to me over here, him and Han. I just feel like with characters like John Cena and early I want to be John Cena, Roman Reigns, they almost come off like Homelander. Like they feel like propaganda machines, Like they come off like, I love you all as long as you keep loving me. Drew comes off as grateful. Drew has that Daniel Bryan grateful energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And he says he's thankful for friends he can count on, and again, like, he knows he can count on us. And he says he hopes that we're ready to see him beat Randy Orton tonight and regain the WWE title. Says he's thankful for the doubters, the people that force you to work harder until you reach the goal, and then you can throw your hands up and tell them to read between the lines.
Yeah, I saw that. He really was feeling himself when he did that whole bit too.
Oh my God, yeah. He says Roman Reigns is such a doubter. I love that he said Roman Reigns has put himself on such a pedestal that we all look like ants to him right now. And again, he reiterates, he's going to beat Orton, regain the WWE title. Then he's going to go to Survivor Series, climb all the way up to Roman Reigns' pedestal, and Claymore kick him back down to earth. And then Orton cuts in, because, Drew starts to say that I'd be foolish to underestimate Randy Orton. And Randy interrupts him. And, I think where you get rewarded as a viewer when you've watched wrestling for a really long time, and, you and I fit the bill of that.
Yeah.
And you and I both saw Randy's rise through the company. This dude embodies, and I'm not saying this like with tongue in cheek, like he really does embody that generational, nepotistic privilege. I won't go as far as say like white or whatever, because I don't really think it touches on that, although I definitely think it also does, but not in this context. It really is just, I was made for the business. I was born in the business. I am the business. And Randy, given the events of the main event, I'm just going to jump the gun. I think we all know, Drew did end up regaining the title. We'll get more in depth into that later. I was kind of enjoying Orton as WWE champion, though. And I can't believe I'm saying that in 2020. Like, I understand why it had to happen, but, like, I was actually enjoying his paranoia. And his promo here I thought was genuinely good. He said he's thankful to be a 14-time world champion. He's thankful that the fine he got for putting his hands on Adam Pearce last week didn't matter because he's the most fined and suspended superstar in WWE history. Like, he's saying this puffing his chest out.
Yeah.
And he says that, that despite all of that, why he's still here is because he's the best wrestler ever, and he's going to prove it again tonight against Drew McIntyre, and I think he probably said he was going to prove it again at Survivor Series. I loved how Drew responded to this. He said that tonight's going to be different because tonight he's not crashing off the 16-foot high Hell in a Cell, but his boot is crashing through Randy Orton's head as he becomes WWE champion again. So great mic work from Drew tonight, and I really wanted to give Orton some credit for his mic work because I genuinely, like, what's not to believe? The dude knows he's privileged. He owns these privileged, and he has the ability to back up that privilege when it really matters, or so he tells us. So I really like that. Of course, there was more to this segment, but I'm hoping to press pause on that. Okay, there we go. And hand it over to you to see if you have anything you want to say about the rest of Drew's promo or Orton's response or anything like that.
I think just kind of touching on the sort of privilege that you were addressing earlier on when you were talking, I think it really stems from survivorship bias.
Yeah.
So basically, for those of you that don't know what survivorship bias is, basically, if 100 people put the exact same amount of work into getting hired by a company, and only one of them actually gets hired, that one person will believe for the rest of the time that they work for that company that they worked harder than the other 99 because what they did worked, because they got hired. When in reality, they were just lucky. That's all it comes down to. And I think Orton is in the same exact position. Orton got into the WWE because of his father. Orton was a chosen one in the sense that he was constantly protected and he was put in Evolution over Mark Jindrak. I think it was Mark Jindrak. And he was never kind of allowed to be properly punished. Like, he'd get fined or suspended or whatever. But I think we all know very well that it's probably pretty likely that he violated the wellness policy more often than they announced that he violated it, because if he would have gotten it one more time, he would have had to have gotten fired via the policy, and they would never fucking do that. So, like, all of that is what we're talking about when we say privilege and nepotism and stuff like that. And that's all the stuff that he'll never acknowledge in a promo, or maybe even in real life. I don't know how he really feels about it IRL. But it's all shit that he'll never acknowledge, at least in a promo, because it's heelish to not acknowledge your own privilege, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of what we're talking. I think it really does stem from survivorship bias. I think that, like, people like Vince and Stephanie and Shane and Orton and Charlotte and Nia, et cetera, all these people who get chances and get protected and get pushed more because of their family name than because of whatever they can do. I think that is all a case of survivorship bias. They won't ever admit to it because they don't believe it, because they genuinely believe that, like, the amount of work that they put in is just more than everyone else because what they're doing is working, because they're the one getting pushed, and the company has people convinced across the board that the more that they push you, the harder you're working, basically. It's like a fucking company-wide gaslighting campaign to make everyone believe that their fate is in their own hands when in reality it's not, right?
Yeah.
So, that all being said, Orton's promo here was very heelish, made it very easy to hate him, and it made it that much more cathartic when Drew did in fact beat him later on in the night.
Perfectly said. Beyond that, Miz and Morrison do come out, and Miz asks Morrison, what day is it? He says November 16th, and he says, you know what that means? It's the new episode of Miz and Mrs. drops tonight, and they say, what else does it mean? They say that it's after Hell in a Cell, and, like, why does that matter? Because Hell in a Cell was the past, and the present and the future, which they are, is far more interesting. I'm not going to go, like, word for word in this promo, obviously. They essentially tell Drew that tonight they'll have a front row seat to the WWE Championship match and that change is coming. They also do call out The Fiend in this and say that Fiend is afraid of them and specifically The Miz. And so, like, originally I even have in my notes that I thought the main event was going to be a clusterfuck with The Fiend getting involved.
Right.
That didn't happen. We'll get to what did happen later. But yeah, so this just set up, again, the looming threat that Miz has with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which Drew was completely unafraid of and just, unfazed by. And, they get a little pot shot in on Fiend, who I'm curious where he kind of fits now, because now that Orton has dropped the title, which again we've already acknowledged, and they apparently want to present Fiend as a babyface. I wish they could fucking do that without Alexa Bliss, but I digress. I thought that he might have been a potential challenger for Orton had he kept the title. So I'm really curious what the main event scene is going to look like post Survivor Series, because they even build the match between McIntyre and Orton as the feud coming to a head. They even did an extensive video package for it. This really had a feeling of finality to it. So I don't know if it's wise to say that McIntyre Orton would say happen at TLC. In fact, if anything, again, not to jump the gun too hard because we'll get to that segment later, I would think at this point in time, it's more plausible even to say McIntyre versus Sheamus for the title at TLC potentially.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see.
That's low key. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that.
Me too, and we'll get to why later. But that's essentially the opening segment. Did you have any comments you wanted to make about Miz and Morrison, or do you want to just keep moving right along to the next thing?
Keep it going, man. Keep it going.
Keep it going, man. All right. We got Lana, Shayna, and Nia versus Dana, Mandy, and Asuka. Now, before the match actually happened, we get a pre-match confrontation. Shayna and Nia, are like kind of in gorilla position. And Lana said, she comes up, and they said they heard the tag match was Lana's idea. Lana said she got the idea from Miz and Morrison tagging with Orton, and that she thought it was the best way to prove herself to everyone on the Raw Survivor Series team that she deserves to be there. She says, unlike Orton, she won't be afraid to tag in and is all about this match. And Nia and Shayna are just like, what is this girl thinking right now? That's not happening.
Can we commit murder now, please?
Yeah, exactly. They've been dying to all this time. They say this match isn't about her, and tonight, under no circumstances, is Lana to tag in. We then cut to the matchup, and I want to say very early on, because I try not to be too extensive in my notes with pointless stuff, like calling every word in a promo or every move in a match.
Right.
But Shayna got a really nice looking backbreaker on Dana Brooke early on in this match that I thought looked fucking devastating.
Yeah.
Always a privilege to watch Shayna work. And, she got in because, Lana was going to start the match, and then Shayna tagged herself in and was like, no. So she had some good stuff with Dana early on. We already talked about in the opening segment, Mandy's arm does get taken out, worked over and then stomped on over the steel step by Shayna. So Shayna was a fucking cold-blooded killer tonight. Yep. Dana, bruises her ribs in the match, and she gets neutralized at one point. Asuka and Shayna have a nice exchange with Asuka, I think, hitting a code breaker, double knees to the face to Shayna at one point. But ultimately, this back and forth, Shayna does get the Kirifuda clutch on Asuka, and it actually does seem like she's gonna get the win here, which is interesting because, I have to think that Asuka Shayna is coming for the title, given their history, given that Shayna actually beat Asuka in the finals, the Elimination Chamber when it came down to the two of them to go to WrestleMania this year.
Yep.
Lana tags herself in. She tries pinning Asuka after a side kick to the face. Asuka kicks out. Bit more back and forth. Asuka gets the Asuka lock on Lana for the win. After the match, Nia fakes Lana out. She's like, oh, you did good. I'm really proud of you. You showed guts out there.
Yeah.
Welcome to Team Raw. Psych! And then she drops her. Again, way too much Nia Jax on the show.
She literally said psych.
Yeah, look, she's also an anti-vaxxer. So, if she just wants to stay losing, that's really easy for her to do. Literally just exist.
Yeah, sure. I'll get vaccinated. Psych!
Yeah, herd immunity, bitches. I guarantee you she probably feels that way and doesn't even know what it means. Puts her through the announce table again. And all of this Nia Jax content, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I know I've been keeping a real chill vibrato the last, few weeks on the recording. I really hated my life here. I really did. I just want you to know that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm very sorry that you had to experience anything that made you hate your life. But we're done with it now, right?
That's true. We're going to move right along because I'm guessing you don't have anything you want to say about this. I never want to take time away from you.
You're not.
Awesome. We get a recap of the problems of the men's Raw team. We cut to AJ Styles with the rest of his team and saying they have the advantage over Team SmackDown on paper, but that means nothing unless they can come together as a team and quit fighting. AJ says being the humble man that he is, he takes his share of the blame as team captain. AJ says he knows everyone on this team hates losing, and so he put together a team-building exercise against a team that everyone also hates, Retribution. I'm just going to be honest here, quick side note, breaking the fourth wall here. I really was afraid the Team Raw was going to beat Retribution tonight. I was so relieved when they didn't, dude. I was scared. I don't know if you were. I was like, oh, fuck, is this how they're going to come together? But we'll get to that a bit later. AJ hands out Team Raw shirts. Keith and Braun complained about it being too small. I loved Keith's line, am I supposed to put this on over my bicep? And AJ's like, it'll fit all right. Yeah, says the flat earther. He knows all about size and geometry and all that, of course. And he says, look, if you guys follow my lead, I can make this a winning team. So they break off. Riddle says he has a nickname for AJ's bodyguard, which I was going to ask you, Ash, and I'll hand it over to you. Did you catch his bodyguard's name? Because I want to say it was Olmos, but I didn't want to confuse that with Almas Andrade.
No, I didn't catch the name that they said, but I know that his real name is Omobehen.
Okay, fuck. Since I'm horrible with pronunciations and I'd rather just be safe than be offensive, I'm just going to say AJ's bodyguard. That works for me until I can educate myself properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, AJ's bodyguard. AJ quickly shuts down that nickname. And then he's shocked to learn the bodyguard speaks English. And why'd you never tell me? And I love the bodyguard's response. Hit me right in my son of my heart. You never asked. Yeah, AJ, ask questions. Build relationships. Fucking worthless ass. So, did you have anything you wanted to say about this?
You got me dying over here. Again, though, I just feel like this isn't substantive, really. It's, the whole fucking team building exercises and stuff. It's like, whatever, right?
Yeah, it's Alan. Alan gonna Alan. You know how it is.
Plus, at the end of the day, I think we also know that Team Raw is either going to come together and win or not. It's when the WWE has been inconsistent for as long as they have been, it's hard to buy into anything like this as really concrete evidence of oh man, they're really learning, or oh man, they're never going to come together. But at the same time, we also know that there's a really solid look at our women's tag team champions right now. There's a really solid chance that they won't come together and still fucking win. Who cares?
Yeah, that's actually a really salient point that I have nothing substantive to add to, so let's just move right along then. We already talked about Dana Brooke getting attacked by Reckoning, so let's just actually move on from that, because we already talked about that.
Yes.
Firefly Funhouse segment. I'm just going to get through this really quickly. I hated it, mainly Alexa's involvement in it. And really it just served the purpose to set up Bray Wyatt versus The Miz for later tonight. He says Miz isn't nice and needs to learn manners, which doesn't surprise him given that Hollywood types are vapid and would sell out their own children for their reptilian overlords. Bray says he needs to get ready for the match and learns agility by punching out Mercy and Huskus as they sneak up behind him, spelling by spelling the word jackass M-I-Z, and accuracy by having Rambling Rabbit bound to a dartboard with an apple on his head. Bray says, "Don't worry, Ramblin', I never miss." And he ends up putting the dart through Ramblin's heart as he slowly dies. "No, dude, I trusted you, dude. Why, dude?" And he dies. And Bray and Alexa are just laughing about it. "Oh, what a great time. Oh, why not just take something that John loves and utterly destroy it? That's cool." And says he'll see Miz soon. So that was that segment. I'm going to hand this over to you, this next one, because you had a great moment very early on in our show saying when you thought about really good characters, you thought about the Hurt Business, because we got New Day versus Cedric Alexander and Stone Bender for the Raw Tag titles, but we had a bit of promo work before this. MVP has a pre-match promo. We get some back and forth, and I'm going to let you take it from here, brother.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Again, the Shelton botch it was really interesting, too, to see Shelton do a little bit of his own talking and have a little bit of a flub. And then MVP picks right up like nothing happened. MVP, you know what? Now that I think about it, let me ask you this, John. I'm going to throw this over to you. Is MVP the best talker on Raw right now?
I think he is, man.
I think he is too. Yeah. I can't really think of any. I mean, Drew is the only one that I would really consider be in contention with him.
I would say Drew, and if I may be so bold, I would also submit Ali for that spot, because I really do like how he talks.
Fair, yeah.
I just think he needs the booking to go with it, which is starting to come together a little bit. But yeah, MVP, dude, I don't like. MJF once said about his mic skills that the microphone's like a bullet because he doesn't miss, or it's like a loaded gun and he's the bullets that just doesn't miss. And MVP just does not miss to me. Yeah. So continue, man. Keep talking about what you liked about this.
Yeah, so we had them, cut their promo, talk their shit, talking about how they're going to beat the New Day and become the next tag team champion so that they can then go on to face the Street Profits. And the Street Profits line was where Shelton tripped up a little bit. Then the New Day came out and basically just kind of insulted him. Kofi had a moment where he was just like, "Let me get in my punchline," and it was a really, really lame one. The jerk business, Kofi. You know what though, dude? I'm trying. Was this a no? Okay, this was This was a Raw Tag Title match. It was New Day versus Hurt Business, and New Day did retain. But like, I feel like Kofi's improv skills here really shone through. I was really impressed by him.
Yeah, dude, Kofi is such a dad, and I mean that in the best
way.
I mean, he is literally.
It was an absolute dad joke for sure.
Yeah, but you know what though, dude? Since you were heaping praise on MVP, I loved how MVP reacted immediately. He's like, "That's your punchline, epic fail." Like he actually said, "Epic fail."
Yes, he did.
And coming from a man that dresses like that, if it was anybody else, I'd probably cringe like, "Oh wow, really? You just used the term epic fail?" But you know what? It works. It works. I believe the things that comes out of that man's mouth. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, since you already kind of talked about, touched on the match, the conclusion, the New Day retained, dude, this match illuminated to me two things. Because a lot of the spots that I liked in this match came from Shelton and Cedric. But then something else got revealed to me tonight, and I know I'm really late to the party, and this may be a well-done moment. I think Xavier Woods is one of the best well-rounded workers in the company.
Yeah.
Because, here's the thing, man. Xavier sold his ass off because a lot of the offense that I liked, Xavier was the one eating it. I swear to you, dude, that isn't some Johnny Scumbag shit. It really looked good.
No. You know what? I'm glad that you clarified that because I know that there are people in our chat that would have assumed that, but that didn't even cross my mind, honestly.
And then here's the thing, too. Their double team finish, the Daybreak.
Yeah.
Dude, Xavier's double stomp for his half of it was immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I know on this podcast, look, I would like to think, I should qualify that. I would like to think that I own all of my shit on this podcast. And I know I have had a good laugh at Xavier's expense character-wise many times. But on some real shit, the dude's really, really good. Maybe to the point where we don't even give him enough credit, honestly, for as much credit as we do give him for how good he is. Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, he sells for his opposition great. The stuff that he does offensively is great. I feel like his hot tag in this was one of the high spots of the match.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, and when he has those Daniel Bryan hot tags, he just goes on fucking fire.
Dude, and it's such a shame because honestly, and maybe this is me, right? I just got done saying maybe we're underrating him, and now I'm about to put, kind of a ceiling on him, so I feel like a hypocrite. I personally don't see in the company scheme Xavier ever being a world champion. I would love for them to prove me wrong, but I honestly believe if they would just give him the ball, we could be looking at one of the best U.S. or Intercontinental champions of all time. Honestly. Because he's so good on the mic and he's so
I do think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. He's so well-rounded. And why I say well-rounded is I don't know if he maxes out any one stat relative to other people in the company. As we were talking about mic workers. I didn't
selling
think
maybe.
Selling maybe. Selling maybe I think would be his closest. But he checks every box and he's strong enough, he's proficient enough, competent enough, whatever term you want to use, in the things that really matter. This dude, for all the shit that I've taken on him, again, jokingly, I did just want to take a moment to sincerely praise him here because he really, to me, was the star of this match, on the New Day side. Yeah, and I'm not even, against Kofi or anything, but I think it's time more respect got put on Woods' name. And when it comes to Hurt Business, it's funny, Shelton being, in his 40s now and everything and having the long career, it's nice that he gets the veneer of a veteran because I will give commentary credit. They really built up Shelton's tag experience. This is a really good spot for him. This is a really good spot for him at this stage of his career. And Cedric looked great. Hell, Cedric being on TV is a win for all of us, and especially Cedric. And I felt like they really did a great job here. I love that Shelton did an angle slam in this match. There was a lot of inspired offense here, and a really fun tag team contest. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, if we were to grade this Raw go-home show, on the basis of a go-home show, on what they really promoted the most, the championship matches, which had direct bearing on Survivor Series, I would say this Raw, again, was a success. Now, obviously, you have to take in the other, 2.5 hours of content.
Yeah.
But, I think just taking those two things, and this tag match was really good. And I just want to give praise to all four guys because I immensely enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was definitely, I would say this was probably the best match of the show. The only other match that I feel like was even close to this was the 4-on-4 tag match, but I feel like that was just a little too chaotic.
Yeah.
And this was much more structured, and it felt like a real wrestling match, whereas the other one felt more like a clusterfuck. That was just kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will. I'm gonna just kind of double down here, say this was the best match on Raw tonight.
Awesome. We move right along from that. New Day celebrating getting the win again after Daybreak, which Cedric did eat the pin. I don't know if that's going to have consequences because commentary also did build up that like he was the newest recruit and they put a lot of investment in Cedric. I hope it doesn't because, again, I love the unit. I don't think it will, but, you never know with WWE. So we get Drew and Sheamus backstage. Been loving these interactions.
Yeah.
Sheamus says Drew's ma, who he regarded as his own, told him about Drew's Scottish heritage, and he got him his ancestors' kilt that Drew saw in like a case, and then Sheamus presented him with his family's, like his ancestor's sword.
Yeah.
And I even put in my notes, man, I might be going soft. I haven't really done a scumbag bit in a minute. And now, even my intensity and my turned upness, maybe I'll still do it for like Star. I know I got excited the last Stardom show we did because it was so fucking good. But I've been, kind of packaging this more chill kind of presentation for TWitWows. So maybe I'm going soft, but I put in my notes, Drew's charisma and Sheamus's recent work, again, the Big E stuff, and I don't think his promo stuff when he's chimed in about Team Raw really hasn't been bad. It's making me like and subsequently get worked by this. And I even put, if Sheamus were to eventually turn on Drew, which I do think that's where it's going.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd be affected by it. I think I'd be like, but no, the sword, and no, and it's weird. It's weird that those two guys, emphasis on Sheamus, would get that out of me. Because, again, I was just talking about Shelton and the stage of his career and his age. We know Sheamus is 40. We know, like, he's in that play. And there was a long time that he didn't even think he'd wrestle again because I think he was dealing with injuries. And he's doing some really nice work right now. So
dude's only about 2 months out from being 43.
Wow, yeah. And, like, at 43, doing the work that he's doing recently, if he was to be in a mini program with Drew for the WWE title, I wouldn't hate it. I'd actually be invested with these segments that they're doing here. I noticed, too, that the segments aren't overly complicated, and I wouldn't even say they're cheesy either. It does just feel like two genuine friends. Yeah, sincere. That's the word. It's sincerity. It's just two friends being genuine with each other, bonding with each other, and supporting each other. And, like, that's all you need.
I think sincerity, though, is kind of the theme of Drew's run at the top right now. I feel like that's kind of what separates him from so many other top guys.
I would completely agree with you on that. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really touching segment. We get Team Raw versus Team Retribution. Retribution cut a pre-match promo, and Daddy, by which I mean Ali, says that Retribution, fucking love this dude, the uncrowned WWE champion, says that they hate Team Raw because they represent that everything Retribution is against. Team Raw are arrogant, spineless cowards that'll stab each other in the back just to get ahead. Ali ultimately says, he did have a great line at the beginning that I should mention. He says that, AJ looks at Retribution as a bunch of pawns, I guess, to strengthen his team. But even well-played pawns can beat a king.
Yes.
Oh, God, Daddy, say more words, please. God, dude. I'm actually going to say something a bit bold, when we wrap up the match itself, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Ali says Retribution doesn't need to destroy Team Raw because Team Raw will destroy themselves tonight. Do you have anything to say about the pre-match promo? Because I'm going to let you know now. I am going to hand this over to you.
No, I was going to say the pre-match promo was so fucking good. Like, that's I paid maybe 60% attention to Raw tonight, which really was like basically my way of paying just enough attention to catch stuff that really was like important. And that line really got my attention. I was like, oh, that's a good one. I got to bring that up if John.
So good. It's so good. Like, I am the worst, right? I am the typical, like, ignorant American that's horrible with pronunciation, but I can pronounce daddy just fine. And I'm telling you.
You meet Ali in real life and you're just like, spit on me, daddy. And he's just like, say my name. And you're just like, Daddy!
Get the fuck out, yes, sir. But you ain't even wrong. It's scary how, like, accurately you painted that whole thing. But yeah, man, it was really, really fantastic. And I'm telling you, if they just give him the booking to go with it, Ali can take care of the rest, man. He really can.
Yep.
He has the talent in spades. And I'm just rooting for him so fucking hard. And fuck it, I'm going to say it now because I may forget to say it when we recap the match. Drew regaining the WWE title should make all of us fucking happy for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because barring Orton regaining it, if Drew can hang on to it, that means that we're not going to get Edge Orton, at least for the title, which I don't need the fucking title for it. And that opens up either Keith Lee still challenging, and I even said this in my notes after the match, because Ali does get the winning pin for his team. We should really, in my personal opinion, be looking at Ali as a dark horse to win the Rumble in January. Oh, I'm looking at him that way.
I'm looking at him as 2011 CM Punk.
Okay, so like you think he's gonna get the shot? What, in like summer of 2021? He may become champion. Like, if we're following that,
I'm more looking at it just as he's gonna have a really good showing in the Rumble. He's gonna have backing from his Retribution teammates. They're all gonna be behind him, trying to help him win the Rumble. And all it's gonna take is one person to come out, and it's just like, oh well, fuck, this isn't happening. Like it might even be Big E, or it might even be Keith Lee, or someone along those lines. It might even be someone that we like. I think is what I'm really getting at here. But, you know, we'll know it when we see it. Because I think in 2011, when Punk was doing it, I know Kevin Nash was one of them. I think it might have even been Cena that kind of ended the reign of dominance in the ring, where Punk was like cutting promos in between people coming out in the Rumble and stuff.
Yeah. You know what, man? I think you make a very fair point. I will say at this moment in time, obviously you and I are going to reassess come late January.
Of course,
obviously we'll need to.
And
but
pretty much every week between now and then, too.
Yes, because that's just how TWitWoW does it. But, you know, as it stands right now, I'm definitely looking at Ali as at least Final Four. I'm not going to commit to him being the winner, but I could really see him making the Final Four.
Well, I hope you're right.
Thing. I hope I am too, dude. But then we get to the actual matchup, and again, I want to hand it to you because I know this match is in competition for you for match of the night, despite you saying like it got a little bit chaotic towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't, you know, I said that having forgotten literally the main event of the show, which I would, now that I remember it, call the second best match of the night behind the tag title match. But I just fucking love seeing these Retribution guys go to work, man. And I will also say, Sheamus, I feel like was the star of this match, oddly enough.
Yeah, he's really been on a freaking roll. You know, Riddle had a great flurry of like his mat wrestling and his suplexes to Slapjack early on.
Yep.
Keith Lee was fucking great when he was taking them all out, and he was like a one-man wrecking crew. But then Keith Lee served as kind of the foundation for Retribution to have a great Shield moment where he's got T-Bar and Mace throttled by the throat because they tried double choke slamming him. Keith Lee reversed it, and then Ali comes out of nowhere like a human torpedo to Keith Lee's back and sends him into the announce table.
Yep, exactly.
Like, if you really want me to vibe with Retribution even more than I already am, because again, I've already sung Ali's praises enough, I don't want to belabor that point. You know, I would like them to kind of illustrate that Shield quality even more if they can. I know not everybody can be the Shield, nor should they. Shield was a very special phenomenon that we were privileged to witness. But I love that. I love when teams can make you feel like, even when you're one-on-one with somebody in a given tag match, it's always a 3-on-1 handicap match, or it's always, you know, this type of match. And I really like that moment from Retribution. Again, to your point, Sheamus just not giving a fuck. Arguing with Braun, this and that. You know, they had an argument. Braun just was it Braun or Sheamus that shoved Riddle like really far? I assume it was Braun.
I think it was Braun. Yeah, it was Braun.
Yeah, and they're all arguing, and then Ali
I feel like Braun is the fucking ornery one in this entire team. Like, he's just the one that doesn't agree or get along with anyone. He's the first one to bring up, oh, nobody voted you team captain, to AJ Styles and shit. Like, dude, he's on your team, and I don't even just mean he's on your Raw team. Like, he's a fucking conservative Christian guy who thinks that people who are poor deserve it. Like, you're on the same fucking team. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's funny too is I read something recently that allegedly, you know, internally in the company, Braun's considered a babyface, so he really is this generation's Big Show.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's the most shocking news I found out today.
If we ever like get so advanced in our podcasting technology that we're able to extract sound bites to promote the show, and then we provide the full link of content, that laugh would be the soundbite for me. Just for that one line. That was fucking great. So yeah, Ali sends Riddle like into the big burly men, Strowman and Sheamus and all that, and he rolls Riddle up, which it's so like. I don't know how I feel about this because obviously I have my personal feelings about Riddle and Ali, which are drastically different. But kayfabe-wise, it is interesting because Riddle, the commentary was even building him up as winning 2 matches last week, which he did because he even got the winning pin in the tag match. So Ali, by all accounts, pinned the strongest man on this team. Like, that's great for him, though. So on one hand, I'm like, kind of sucks for Riddle, but because I really don't care about him personally with everything that's happened, and I like fucking adore Ali, and I'm like, yeah, fucking do your shit, King. I'm like, yeah, pin the fucking strongest one, and then laugh at them, which they did, and I did, because it was great. So, yeah. That he capitalized on the mayhem. Commentary even noted, Ali said, we didn't need to destroy Team Raw. We were just going to sit back and let Team Raw destroy themselves. And Ali was right, because of course he was, because beautiful people don't fucking lie.
Boom.
I'm telling you people. Yeah. You have anything you want to add?
Bro, you just said beautiful people can't lie. How do I improve on that? I can't.
It is your face, though. But then again, your face is already perfect. So again, it doesn't know how to improve. Jesus. We have Nikki Cross looking for Alexa backstage.
God, this.
Yeah, dude, I know. Just everything. Sarah Schreiber's like, but Nikki, last week you gave Alexa an ultimatum, choose the Fiend or you, and she chose the Fiend. And Nikki, like, backtracks and is like, look, I know I was really shitty and, like, put an ultimatum with somebody that was going through something rather than effectively empathizing. But true friends don't give up on each other. So now you learn the lesson. Jesus Christ.
I feel like one of these years, Nikki Cross is going to get released, and then one of the years after that, we're going to get a tell-all shoot interview from her, and we're going to find out that, like, it was originally planned for her to be Bray's assistant / Sister Abigail or whatever the hell, and Alexa basically politicked her way into that role.
Yeah, I can see it.
Alexa basically was like, okay, Vince, but, like, hear me out. What if the person that used to be crazy ends up being the normal one, and the person that used to be the normal one ends up joining the psychotic cult? Tell me that's not perfect subversion of tropes. And Vince is just like, oh my God, I'll be the next David Benioff. God damn it, you're brilliant.
+5 for that diss. I can see that as clearly as the Matrix, brother. Yeah, that's happening. That's totally happening. We pen in the next segment because Raw understands that our time is valuable, and I wish they understood that a lot more. Jeff Hardy looking at a flyer that Elias has been putting out saying wanted on the man who ran him over. I think there was even a picture on it of, like, Jeff being taken away in cuffs, and Jeff says, well, I'm about to give him the big break he's looking for. And then pretty much in the same breath, because I think we had a commercial, then we come back, Elias is tuning up his guitar, and Jeff, like, confronts Elias, and he more or less aggressively tells him, like, just grabs him, right? And he pushes him in the corner, because that's going to make your argument, Jeffrey, that I'm innocent, man, and I didn't run you over. Because Elias is like, look, you're the only one that knows what happened last night. Because you did it.
Dude, that reminds me of that fucking scene in Office Space where the just like, I'm good with people. What's wrong with you?
That was Jeff's energy. He's like, I'm a baby face. I don't do this shit. And Elias is just like, sure, bruh. Like,
he like dangles Elias off of a building and he's just like, see, Elias, I'm a good guy. What did I tell you?
God, dude, if Elias had Joe's energy, which it's times like this that, like, I miss Samoa Joe, and I know it's a horrible thing to say to somebody.
Dude, I miss Samoa Joe being actually like an active wrestler and not just talking on commentary. I miss his promos.
Dude, fucking same, because I pictured if Jeff tried this shit, Joe probably would have assaulted him, but even if he would have kept the words, he probably just could have been like, yeah, sure, Jeff, save it for AA, and then just, like, that's it. You got to the next fucking thing. But Elias kept it classy. We appreciate a classy bearded Jesus, that keeps it above the belt. So we go from that to Miz versus Bray, and, yeah.
I will say, I liked that we got Funhouse Bray here.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
about the only positive I have to say about this whole thing, though.
Miz cuts a pre-match promo, pretty much saying, "Look,
Which annoyed.
Bray."
Honestly, this annoyed the shit out of me. This made me like. This promo made me remember why I hated the Miz in 2011 in the first place.
Oh wow, I didn't know it affected you that bad. So like, you're not talking about though, like in a kayfabe like this worked me. I want to see Bray kick his ass. You're just like this wasn't.
No. That's exactly what I'm saying. This was like.
Oh, okay.
This was like heel Miz at his peak, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was getting worked back then.
Good. Okay. So I just always want to clarify because this is essentially him trying to walk it back and him being like, look, Bray, we've both done things. You terrorized my family. I talk some shit. Granted, you were worse than I was. He always has to get that in there, right? Get the high ground. You were worse, but that doesn't matter. Look, let's just put water under the bridge. There's a WWE Championship match tonight. I'm Mr. Money in the Bank. I know you want Randy Orton, so let's just give each other what we want. What do you say? Then Alexa comes out answering on Bray's behalf. He says, no. Aren't I terrifying? So then Funhouse Bray's music hits, and I will say everything about Funhouse Bray specifically, his presentation, the exhibition of his character in the ring, I like this. Yeah. This brought me back. I'm like, I love this because he understands it. He starts and that's like, I'll forgive you, Miz. I'll forgive you. And dude, my fucking boy, even when he's a manager, fucking shows up. Because Bray is like extending the hand to Miz. He's like, I'm willing to forgive you. And Miz just got this look on his face like, I mean, I am a douche, and I really didn't want this match, but like, he's so creepy, so I don't know what to do. And Joel's like, you better take it. Better take it. Better shake his head. And I just love like his urgency where he's like, come on, dude, we got something else to do. Like, I hate that he's Miz's cheerleader in one way because I want him to be in the spot that Miz is in now, but goddamn if he still isn't good at it and still doesn't put his back into it. Miz actually doesn't go for the handshake. I thought he would, and then Bray would sucker him in. He actually just straight goes for the right hands. To summarize this match very quickly, because again, I don't want to go hold for hold in any match. What I loved about this was, I think I had a great line here in my notes where I said Bray looked fantastic in this from his facial expressions to giving Miz nothing more than a 1 count. Oh, this is what I said. I said he sold Miz's offense, but never really looked vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that he was able to walk that line of like not necessarily no selling this, because he definitely sold for him and bumped for him a tad, but it was never to the point where I'm like, wow, Bray, you're looking super weak right now. Like, I never once believed he lost control of the match for a second, even when he was on defense. Yep. And that's a really good quality for him to have, because he's not this, like, towering character, but I think him being able to walk the line like that shows that, like, he could be ready to be back on top like that if WWE needed him to be, because it's just believable. Mm-hmm. Kudos to my boy Jomo for bumping for Alexa more than she deserved and making her like dive onto him look a lot better than it actually did going into the Thunderdome. So +5 to Jomo there.
As usual.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about this. I sincerely apologize, everyone. It's just that I don't care. When Alexa, God, that was an asshole thing for me to say. I apologize. When Alexa comes out. When Alexa comes out and says Bray says no, Nikki actually does come out and tell Alexa, Bray's not good for her and she needs to leave. Alexa attacks her, and then the moment Bray's music hits and stuff, like, she completely shifts personality. She's smiley, she's happy, and they come out. So I did want to mention that because I'm thinking that this is going to lead. This may even lead to a WrestleMania payoff of Alexa being emancipated from Bray's control. Who fucking knows? I don't know. I don't care. So I did just want to touch on that just to give a complete review. And Miz tried taking advantage of Alexa pretty much kamikazing Jomo into the Thunderdome, and he gets like his through the ropes clothesline, but then Bray just looks at him like, well, that was the last chance you got, and then hits him with Sister Abigail. Alexa walks along the barricade, jumps down hand in hand, they're like, yay, so great. And then they see the Fiend on the Tron. I still believed at this point the Fiend was going to show up in the main event tonight. Actually glad he didn't. Make him feel special. You never know when he's going to come out. But yeah, that was essentially Miz versus Bray. Do you have anything you want to say, or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
All right, we got a video package for Drew versus Orton. Not going to go into that. They pretty much made it like a chronological thing, past, present, future. I thought it was well done. We get a recap on Dana Brooke being attacked by Reckoning. Pierce reiterates that Rose and Brooke will not be able to compete, which is actually established in the Raw Tag title match. I did make a note of that in my my notes, but they reiterated here. And he says that he's replacing them with Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. We already kind of talked about that. Asuka gets interviewed and says she is so excited and then she's going to beat Sasha Banks this Sunday because no one is ready for Asuka. And given Asuka's recent track record against Bayley and Sasha, I think she's right to feel confident. Again, want me to keep going or just?
I mean, she lost to Sasha before taking the title back from her. So
that is true. That is true. But
now,
I
granted,
think
that wasn't a clean win. It was because of the distraction with Kyrie getting fucking retired by Bayley. But
right.
But it's not like she's undefeated against both of them or anything. But yeah, I totally feel you on that. I think that might second. I tell you what, man. Obviously, we're gonna give our actual number rankings as far as like our hype level out of 10 on. I think it's Thursday or Friday. Let me actually pull up the schedule and look when our preview is. It is Saturday. Okay.
I figured it would be now that we're doing SmackDown reviews.
Yeah, so it's Saturday at 10. So we'll give our numbers then, but I really just went through all of that to say I'm really stoked for this card. I'm really excited for this card. I don't know what it is. I don't know what match I'm most looking forward to, but this card just looks really, really good to me. And the reason that I'm even saying it the way I am right now is because I kind of sat here and thought, like, is this the match that I'm most looking forward to? And like immediately, like 3 different matches came to mind that are in that conversation for me. That's how stoked I am for this show.
That's awesome. I know we'll get more deeply into it on Saturday at 10 now that I have that information, so I can start promoting properly. So moving right along from this, we get another Angel Garza promo talking about how, like he's like a rose and says that all the women in the world are like the roses in the garden that he, knew growing up, and he's the rose that protects their beauty. He asks if their men are willing to protect their beauty because he knows he will. He says this rose is for them. Again, I already talked about in the opening segment. I don't like this. I think this is very constricting for Garza, who's mentally talented, and I'd rather see him compete and really just cut sincere promos because, he's engaged and not a fucking Lothario. Mm-hmm. So, guessing you don't have anything to add, can I move right along? Or
don't tell that to old Vinnie Mac, but yeah, go ahead and move on.
Absolutely. Nia and Shayna arguing backstage about why Shayna had to attack Mandy and Dana as viciously as she did because they could have been useful on the team. Shayna snipes back about Nia putting Lana through the announce table for, however long. And she says, listen, the only people that really matter on our team are you and me. And, or I think she said me and you. And then I think Nia said, you mean me and you. So like kind of jockeying for position.
Right. Of course. The classic.
Of course. Lacey and Peyton interrupt, and Lacey says she hopes those nasties aren't thinking about taking them out. And Peyton says, look, we're really excited to be a part of the team, and how would you like to strategize? And Nia and Shayna, again, are like, are you kidding me? See, it's funny because they're blaming Lana for why they're going to lose, but the story very clearly to me seems to be telling, and again, maybe this would be better for Saturday, but I do just want to say, it just seems like they assume they know better than everybody because of the champions and because they're Nia and Shayna, and that's going to blow up in their face so hard. At least that's what the story seems to be telegraphing.
No, I can agree with that.
Yeah. So then we get Drew versus Orton for the WWE Championship. Drew had a great entrance here. I saw Chiefin said earlier that this is his planned entrance for WrestleMania for the fans. Drew, not only is Drew so sincere and seems like such a fucking sweetheart, but the dude's had it rough. Like, can we just take a minute to acknowledge, like, this dude finally gets a taste at the top, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get it. The roar of the crowd. People are loving me. Because he was probably thinking, like, one of the last few crowd shows that he had where he took Brock out with all those claymores. He's like, I'm fucking in. WrestleMania is going to be dope. And it just slipped through his fingers. So, like, I really hope. I know WWE is looking to have their big shows like with people. I hope Drew gets that experience. I hope they do. First and foremost, I hope they do it safely and sensibly. A pandemic's no fucking joke, and U.S. continues to handle it horrendously. But just focusing on the entertainment and the talent aspect, the people that have really been putting in the work this year: Drew, Sasha, Bayley, Asuka. I want them to have a crowd to play their craft. So long again as it's safe and sensible. I can't emphasize that part enough. But he comes out in the kilt with the sword. He puts the sword into the ground, which causes these flames to rise up. Badass pyro. I should have known from that point that Drew was winning, honestly. You don't do that kind of theatrics for a loser, right? But, dude, again, it's funny. I said this at the top of the show. Whatever it is about matches being billed as final, because we saw that with Ray and Seth this past Friday, it must give them some sense of urgency. Like, hey, we're not doing this again, so let's finally give our best. Because, like, I really like the story that was told here. Drew was itchy as fuck for a Claymore early on. He wanted to, like, beat Orton, punch ticket spreaders. He's full of adrenaline. Orton keeps having it scouted, which I thought that was going to play a bigger part in the story. In a way it did, in another way it didn't. At one point, Orton's looking to take a walk with the title. Pierce stops him.
That was really cool. I liked the way Pierce came out. And is it just me, or does Adam Pierce actually have a fucking catchphrase now?
What would that catchphrase be? Because to be honest,
the whole, and that's official.
Oh, you may be right about that. Don't know why somebody like that needs a catchphrase, but I will say this.
I mean, it's better than people power.
That's objectively true. I do like Pierce because I think he's kind of walking that Regal line where we see him just enough for relevant narrative points, but it's not.
It's almost, it honestly low key kind of feels like the main roster took the hint basically from NXT on how to book an authority character, in the sense that, like, they're not overbearing, they make match announcements, they keep things under control, like that kind of stuff. And maybe they're even doing it better because Regal is very biased with a lot of the decisions that he makes, and Pierce seems to just kind of be more on the side of, like, the truth and honesty.
Yeah. I agree with that, man. I'm glad that they're taking notes from NXT and they're making the authority figure like a minimalist character.
Yeah.
It really works. And he says, whoa, Orton, it's not going down like that. Because, this match is going to continue. No countouts, no disqualifications. There must be a winner. We're not going to have this ambiguity going into Survivor Series. We're getting everything set tonight. Orton, freaking hates that. But what results is a very physical matchup. I remember Orton using a chair on McIntyre at one point. McIntyre does Orton's back suplex on the announce table, and he gets fired up. He tries Claymoring Orton on the outside. Orton moves out of the way again, and Drew's back hits the announce table.
Mm-hmm.
Drew sends
that
Orton
was really cool, because Drew basically just, like, flew onto the table.
Yeah. Drew's athleticism and his ability to sell and everything, he's such a complete package to me. I've been loving the dude's fucking work. And yeah, they do great back and forth. There was another great spot where, like, Orton's back got cut from going through the table, but he catches Drew in a power slam off the Claymore. I really thought we were going to see an RKO spot, but maybe they want to protect the RKO. I don't know. Because I don't think he hit an RKO in this match. So,
no, he didn't.
Again, I like how the story is, because the only time he beat him at Hell in a Cell, he hit an RKO. So,
plus, he had a bunch of other kinds of stuff go his way, too.
After, like, that 16-foot drop that Drew alluded to at the top of the show.
Exactly.
So, Drew ultimately does hit the Claymore. Yep. Also, Orton did get a nice spot, an announce table hung DDT. So, yeah, these guys really were very physical in this match. But, again, Drew does get the Claymore. And as soon as he got it, I'm like, oh, my God, Drew's about to do it. And he becomes two-time WWE champion. And, again, for those of us that wanted to keep the Rumble open, because I genuinely thought, dude, after that stare down between Drew and Roman, if they do not pull the trigger at Survivor Series, which, to be fair, you could have very easily read it as, yeah, they're pulling the trigger for Survivor Series.
That's how I read it.
That's how you read it, because I always feel like you're the more sensible and grounded one between the two of us. I have my moments, though, but this just wasn't one of them.
I feel like with you, it's like you make a 100 out of 1 call. You're more likely to make the 100 out of 1, like the 100 to 1 odds call, but you get it right more than one time in 100, like more often than you should. But I just kind of try and stick with what I feel like is the better odds bet, and I still end up being wrong more than I should.
I just like, this is all wrong.
I'm the guy that bets on favorites across the board and still ends up with a 40% correct rating. You're betting on all the underdogs, and even though you don't get as many right as me, you still make more money than me because you're betting against the odds.
Yeah, like, I know you're straight edge, so this doesn't directly apply to you, but you're just like Surrender Cobra at the bar table, and I'm just coming up with all this money, like, hey, but how's it going? I may have to sell my house. Oh, man, that sucks. I made it big, dude. I made $1,000. Just like, fuck you. But no, I was wrong here, because that stare down, again, gave off such, like, WrestleMania energy, and like, the best way, too. that I'm like, I could see Drew winning back-to-back Rumbles, and I like Drew, but I think that might be pushing it. So I am fucking stoked that we're doing Drew Roman at Survivor Series. And here's the thing, I wouldn't be opposed to that being WrestleMania 38 main event, because we just had 36 this year, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get 37, 2021. So 2022 WrestleMania 38, if you want to do Drew Roman, I am all for it. Now, that's permitting that these guys are still as hot and charismatic and, as they are now, or at least they're back on the come-up.
Plus, we've also got to remember we're literally getting that exact match at Survivor Series now because of the champion versus champion thing.
Exactly. So if this doesn't suck, I'm all for revisiting it as a WrestleMania main event, because
that's kind of where I was going with it. Was like, we're about to get a preview. If it's really good, they'll tease us out as long as they can. But if it sucks, they'll probably do it anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm just elated because I know that even if we shouldn't some years, because maybe they're telegraphing to us that it sucks, I think the Royal Rumble...
I was going to say, I feel like this coming Sunday is going to be a preview of the next, 5 years, because I feel like they're going to make Roman Drew the new Cena Orton.
Yeah, and this might actually be one pairing that works. I'm hoping and praying that it works.
Yeah.
Because it definitely has the energy right now.
Yep.
But yeah, like I was saying, I know there are times maybe we shouldn't because they're telegraphing that it sucks. But I know the Royal Rumble always has an allure every year for us, like who's going to win, who's going to get the most eliminations. We even do our Rumble mini game every year.
Yes,
talking about this exact shit. Yeah. So I'm really, really glad that they're keeping the Rumble open. Not that it wouldn't have been if Orton was going here, but I really would have considered Drew being a two-peat. And I'm glad that I don't have to consider that for the time being. That's really nice. Do you have anything you want to say about the main event, spots that you enjoyed, anything you want to point out?
I think we've already kind of touched on all the spots that caught my eye, that caught my attention. So I think we can probably move on here. And really, it's almost like a sense of peace washed over me when that 3 count. Really, I didn't even need the 3 count. When Drew hit the Claymore with it was 10:59 p.m. and Drew hit the Claymore, and I was like, ah. And my mom screamed. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So if you said everything, we'll get into our next segment: high spots and low shots. Low shot, I'm just going to be honest. Dana Brooke got taken out.
You got attacked one time by somebody that doesn't even have beef with you.
Yeah, and now you're out of Survivor Series. Oh man, just a rough night for Dana. And, actually, no, her team did win the match because they were with Asuka. But long term, TV's great and all, but you want to make it on the pay-per-views. And because of Retribution now, you're not making it to a pay-per-view. And your friend Mandy Rose got, taken out by, fucking Shayna, the people whose titles that you won, Shayna and Nia. So it just really sucked to be Dana Brooke. So who's your low shot?
My low shot, I thought I kept it really simple here, is Randy Orton. Dude lost the world title right before a big title versus title match.
Absolutely. And
how long did he hold the title for? 3 weeks? Or I guess 22 days?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of Orton's title reigns are notoriously short if you go back and you look at the record book. I feel like the one that he had in 2007 might have been his longest one that we've been kind of covering on the channel through 2 Hour Request Live.
It also kind of felt like they only put the title on him in this instance as a way to, A, reward his work, and also B, pad out his count.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think it was also a good way to cool Drew down at least temporarily so that we can really bring the sincerity to the fore and just, get him ready for this guy that, again, it's like sincerity versus entitlement, Drew versus Roman. Right. So I do like the dynamic there. And so I'm going to keep my high spot simple, and I kept it blank because I just knew in my heart I was going to go with the winner of the main event. So it's Drew McIntyre because he's now a 2-time WWE champion. There was a time in this man's career where I wondered if he was ever going to be world champion, period. And now he's got 2 WWE title reigns under his belt. Yep. Definitely deserving, great look, hard worker. I'm still loving his stuff. And again, he's putting his back into one of the most arduous eras in WWE history with this pandemic and everything. Even with the Thunderdome, we all know that it's not the same. And he's still just going and doing his best. So, congratulations, Drew. You're my high spot. So, who's your high spot going to be, brother?
Mustafa Ali.
Oh, that's really, really getting close to Santos territory right there.
I mean, he cut an amazing promo. He had probably the most memorable line of the entire show. He had that awesome suicide dive spot to neutralize Keith Lee. And, oh, by the way, he won the match for his team. What a fucking king.
Yeah,
And
I say
he did all of this while simultaneously maintaining good views on things.
yes. Oh my god. Like, I know I said daddy material, but like, can I, like, I don't know, crawl back into the womb and have a do-over? Like, dude, fucking hell.
Try
Amazing.
husband material.
Dude, yes. Fucking get on that shit. And dude, you know, you say like as like good views on things. I mean, this dude was a former cop, and he walked away from it, which by definition makes him a good cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's the fucking unicorn. It's a literal fucking unicorn. So yeah. Like, yeah. That's it. It's fucking Ali.
God, what a world though, where one person's high spot can be somebody who won the literal biggest prize in the fucking company, or at least on their respective brand, and the other person just kind of randomly won a match, and it's a genuine contention for which one had the better night.
I know, because like qualitatively, I mean, Drew seems like a great sport and all, but
I feel like you act with Ali the way my mom acts with Drew.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to fan myself while I'm outroing us. So, with that said, and God, Heat of the Night was the first segment, so why did it just raise a few degrees here? This has been Monday Night Raw. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my core and commentary action. Guys, be sure to like the video as you file out. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Monday Night Raw reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So we'd really appreciate it if you'd leave that like. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss these sultry tones, Ashton's fire takes, and just in general, all that TWitWoW goodness. You know you need it in your life, and we love giving it to you. So be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon. You already know everything that we're a part of, given my partner's beautiful backgrounds here, but you can also check the description box. There you will find our Twitch link, because we are the leaders of the YNT WC, and definitely the workhorses. We have a Teespring. And our Twitters, John_TWitWoW, Ashton_TWitWoW, a Facebook, and the big thing that I deliberately saved for last, our Patreon. Obviously, you guys know we are back on reviews. We give the whole breakdown for what reviews we're doing in one given month on the Patreon link. We've also given the rules for TWitWoW Request Live, which we actually have one coming up tomorrow at 4, courtesy of the Chiefin who's in our chat right now. God, it must be like bumfuck o'clock in the morning for you. That's some dedication right there for him to show up to these reviews.
He's probably at work.
That could be, yes. And he requested Survivor Series 98. That's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want your own TWitWoW Request Live, you can figure out how to put that together in the Patreon link. Two things that I want to plug specifically. You can also buy yourself extra Q&A questions to the TWitWoW Patreon. Patreon donors get 5 Q&A questions. Non-Patreon donors get 3. And I say that because we have a Q&A coming up in a little over a week. Thursday the 26th, Thanksgiving Day, last Thursday of the month, where we always do our Q&As. And so, yeah, if you guys want to get your questions ready, submit them YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord. We're happy to take your questions. Again, to reiterate, Patreon donors get 5 Q&A questions. Non-Patreon donors get 3. Also, for $3 a month, you get access to the TWitWoW Discord. Great community. There's hot takes, revelry, fantastic memes, just everything you could think of in the TWitWoW Discord. Consider, in the words of Mayu, checking it out. So that's that. And the way it's looking, guys, it's really looking like, obviously Tuesday at 4, we've got TWitWoW Request Live. Stardom has been on a roll uploading their shit. The last I looked, their 14th show, they have 5 matches up. So they are going to be freaking ready. Ashton, am I safe to assume that because I know we have NXT reviews at 10, that we'll probably do the Stardom show at 5?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay, so 5 p.m. on Wednesday, we'll be doing the 14th show. I can tell you guys, I am 99% sure that is happening. I always like to leave that 1%, but again, they have really been on it lately, and I love Stardom for that. I want them to keep that energy, not for long, just until the end of time.
Yeah, we got to leave the option, the chance open there that Sonny gets fired and sent home again, and we have to wait 3 weeks.
Exactly. So yeah, very excited for that 14th show. Going to be headlined by Aphrodite versus Momo Oz for the Goddess Championships. Man, that tag match is going to be fucking fire.
Yes.
And we also have Lady C debuting against Saya Ida, which I'm very much looking forward to. So be sure to join us. Stardom World subscription is less than $10. I think
And
it's one of the
ZZ.
best investment link. Yes, and ZZ, yes, because that's the 6-woman tag, right? That's happening on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, if you want to support the best women's wrestling on the planet, in this commentator's opinion, you can find it at Stardom World, less than $10 a month. So that'll be Wednesday at 5. Thursday, do we have anything? Oh, well, it's not Q&A this week. That's next week. Do we have anything Thursday, or is Thursday open right now?
Thursday is open.
Okay, so nothing Thursday. Friday, we have obviously our SmackDown review. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Stardom.
And Stardom.
At 4.
At 4, because hopefully they'll have the 15th show fully uploaded, which again, at the rate they're going, would not surprise me.
Yeah.
So Stardom at 4, tentatively on Friday, because we'll have more confirmation probably by Wednesday or Thursday. And then Saturday at 10 is going to be Survivor Series preview and predictions. And then Sunday at 7, Survivor Series live reactions. So I feel like I capped our content pretty well there. So with that said, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. We'll see you guys tomorrow for 12 Request Live Star Series 98, courtesy of the Chiefin at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Till then, guys, tune in. Peace out.